Hey, what's up, BC? It's Steve again. It's time for another metal and hard rock update. Let's just kind of jump in real quick and get going. First, in the background, we're listening to the newly re-released Vengeance Rising. This is Released Upon the Earth. This was originally released in '93, I believe. This is one of the recent reissues that Rox Records did. Really good. If you haven't heard Vengeance Rising, Rox also released one of their albums on vinyl earlier this year, maybe the end of last year. It's really good as well. I don't think you can get it on the Rox Records website anymore. It's sold out, but I think there are still some available on Amazon last time I looked. Actually, let me turn it down a little bit. This one, the earlier Vengeance Rising is straight up thrash. This one, maybe because of the time that it came out, there's definitely some death metal elements to it, in my opinion. I believe the first 50 that were available also came with a live CD, which I haven't listened to yet. I've been listening to the actual CD pretty much non-stop. This one in the house, and I've also got one of their other releases that I'll get into in another video that's been playing non-stop in the car. But this one was cool because it came with an autographed photo of the 4 remaining members in the band. I should say the 4 remaining. Roger Martinez, the vocalist, is no longer a Christian. He goes back and forth. One day I'll see that he's a Satanist. The next I'll see that he's an atheist. Regardless, he's no longer religious. He's no longer involved with Vengeance Rising. So obviously he didn't sign it, but all the rest of the members of the band signed it. And what's also cool is Rox randomly dropped 15, I believe it was 15, it was either 15 or 20 of the guitar picks used by Danny Cordova in the actual tour. And I got one of those too, so a really good deal here. So again, this came with the expanded version of the original CD. It came with a live disc as well as the signed card and the guitar pick. So very good deal. Killer album. Definitely worth checking out. This particular edition that comes with all the extras, I think it's sold out, but you can still get the remastered and the expanded CD, and it's definitely should be in your collection if you're a metalhead. Let's go ahead and jump into the vinyl. That's the only CD I'm going to show today. First up, we got Blackfoot. This is Strikes. Blackfoot is a southern rock, blues rock, hard rock band. This album is actually more blues rock and southern rock. There are a couple of hard rock songs in here. But their next album, Tomcattin', definitely had more of the hard rock element to it. Still definitely worth having in your collection. Man, if you like Leonard Skinner, if you like 38 Special, if you like especially Molly Hatchet, you're really going to dig Blackfoot. They're a killer band. I haven't heard any of their stuff that I haven't dug. Especially, this was 1979. Late 70s, early 80s is really their best stuff, so definitely worth checking out. Next one I picked up was Pound for Pound from Canadian thrashers Anvil. This is not my favorite Anvil CD or album, but it's still good Anvil. I think their earliest stuff and their newest stuff is the best. In the middle of their career there, I think they kind of fell off a little bit, and I have a feeling it had a lot to do with all the personal stuff that was going on with the band, and and I won't watch the video and you'll see they just weren't getting the attention that they felt they deserved, and that they did deserve, But but I think it kind of affected their music a little bit. Still a great album, don't get me wrong, but I still prefer the earlier albums over this one. This one was 88, I believe, and this is on Metal Blade Records. Next up is a killer from Hirax, Hate, Fear, and Power. Just a killer thrash album. This is a lot more punk influenced than their later stuff would be. Very short songs. It's considered a mini LP. It's only got 8 songs, or it's got 8 songs though, which you would think is a full album, but this is more like DRI style writing, where the songs are 1.5 2 minutes a piece, but it's still just some killer work from Hirax. I definitely recommend. Actually, I recommend anything from Hirax for your collection. But if you like that punkier sounding thrash, then I would definitely check out that one. Next up, we got the new wave of British heavy metal band Maniacs. This was their second full length, if I remember correctly. They had a bunch of EPs here and there, so. Regardless, I think Lee showed their first album on his Bonsai Records video. If I remember correctly, he did show it. This is also, I don't know if you can see it up there, but this is also on Bonsai Records, so you get that really cool Bonsai label. I still think that's one of the coolest record labels that's out there. And then there's the side with the track listings and stuff. This is a good album. It's not as good as their first one. This is more leaning, they've kind of gotten, this is more straight up heavy metal than new wave of British metal, but still a really good album. Still definitely worth having in the collection. Next up, we've got Sound Barrier from LA. This is a really cool band. It's kind of a mix of heavy metal and hard rock. What's interesting about this band is it's one of the first all-black, and it may be the first, I don't know, but they got together in 1980, but it's an all-black heavy metal band. They just never got that popular. Their first album, this is their second, their first album I've never even seen before. I've heard of it, but you never run across it, and it just didn't sell. This one was on Metal Blade Records. It got a little more attention just because it was on Metal Blade, but what's really cool about this band is what they went on to do after. I mean, after this album didn't sell that well, they split up. A couple of members joined Mother's Finest. If you're familiar with Mother's Finest, it's like a hard rock funk mix. It's kind of a weird band. And then a couple of members joined Fishbone, so they go from a heavy metal band to a ska band. I like Fishbone, so I thought that was a kind of a cool connection there. But all the members of this band stuck in the music industry, went to other big bands, and were more successful. But this is definitely some cool stuff that's worth checking out. Next up, we got Bronz, Taken by Storm. This one was a disappointment, and it's not because the music was bad. It's because it's not what I was expecting. So I wasn't familiar with the band, so I looked them up before I ordered this record, and they were listed as touring with Witch Angel and with all the different new wave of the big new wave of British heavy metal bands. Samson. They opened for Motorhead. I mean, they played with these big name new wave bands. And then I did a little more reading and found out that they got together in '75 and they were doing tours with like Judas Priest, and so I was expecting a first wave of British metal band or even a new wave of British heavy metal band. And when I put this in, I was pretty disappointed in that it starts off with this so-so AOR track called Send Down an Angel. I mean, just straight up AOR. And then it goes into The Heat of the Night and The Cold Truth, which are a little heavier. There are some heavy metal tracks on here. There's some hard rock tracks. It's a really schizophrenic album. I just don't think they knew which way to go, There's some really good moments on this album, and there's some really crappy ones. So it's definitely worth checking out. Just if I wouldn't have gone into it thinking it was a first wave or a new wave band, I wouldn't have been disappointed the way I was, because like I said, there are some good tracks on here, and the whole album is good. I don't want to say the low points are still pretty good compared to some other stuff that I've heard. But if you can find it for $3 or $4 like I did, check it out. If not, I wouldn't pay more than that for it. But still a good listen. Bronz. Here was another one that initially disappointed me, and then I ended up kind of digging it. So when I ordered this, there was no picture. All it said was King Cobra self-titled album. So when you think of King Cobra, I think of the 80s metal band. So, and that's what I thought it was. And it was in the metal section. And then I got this, and I had never seen this album cover before, so I'm like, But I threw it in, still thinking it was King Cobra. And then I hear this weird kind of experimental punk metal hybrid, maybe hard rock hybrid. And did some research and found out it's an all-female band from Olympia. Now, like I said, I was initially disappointed because I was expecting a King Cobra album, and I wanted a King Cobra album. And then I find out it's these a bunch of girls from Olympia. So then I'm thinking, maybe it's one of those Riot Girl groups, but it's not. This is from 2000, I think 2003, 2004. So I ended up giving it a whole listen. It's really good. I mean, it's kind of an experimental slash punk slash metal. It's like I said, there's some really good heavy riffs in here. And then the singer, there's a punk element to her voice. I just ended up really being impressed by it. It's not really a metal album. The reason I threw it in here is because it is kind of a hybrid type of experimental album, and it does touch on some hard rock and metal elements, but it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, if you run across this, it's definitely worth buying. Just don't be fooled thinking it's King Cobra, you know. Next, Tattoo Blood Red. I remember this album from the early 90s. When did this come out? 88 or 89? Yeah, 88. I remember this from like 90, 91 when I was getting real heavy into Metal Blade Records and running across this. And at the time I didn't buy it because I thought that was the dumbest album cover that I have ever seen. As I've gotten older, I've talked about this before, I kind of like the silly album covers. And I wish I would have bought this back in 1990 because it's good heavy metal, you know. It's not the top tier of what Metal Blade was putting out in 1988, but it's still really good heavy metal, and I was really pleased with this whole album. And I would say this one's definitely worth picking up. And I think this one's a Canadian pressing. This one's a Canadian pressing. It's a Chicago band though. Still really good metal. I would recommend picking this one up if you run across it. Next up was Beneath the Surface, and it's a self-titled album. I had never heard of this band, and then as I did some research on it, I found out why. This is all that they ever released, and though it doesn't look like it, it's actually a live album. This was their introductory album. I don't know why you would release a live album as your first outing, but you know, it is what it is. It's AOR, heavy metal, hard rock, kind of a mix. The production is pretty good for a live album. It's not something I'll throw in every day, but it's something I'll listen to again. It's not something I'll be getting rid of, so it's worth checking out. And it was released under a couple different names. This is the U.S. pressing, Beneath the Surface. I believe it was called Surface in the UK with a different front cover. So, and then last up we've got another one from new wave of British heavy metal band Girls' School. This was later on. This is more their heavy metal hard rock era. This was 89, I think. 88? Yeah, 89. Still a great album. Take a bite. There's a bunch of killer tracks on here. I really like Girls' School. Even the newer stuff that they've done has been really good. A lot of people have compared them to Motorhead, and they definitely do have some Motorhead sounding songs. But again, just a good album from beginning to end. And that's pretty much it. I'll put a link down below for you guys that are interested in the Vengeance Rising. Definitely worth picking up. And that's it, VC. I hope everybody has a good one, and take care.